the race to become the Wizard King at some point, or Magic Emperor, whichever you prefer, in Black Clover is obviously the very large overarching theme between Asta and Yuno. Now, they're not next to the throne. I still think it's going to be either Fuegoleon or, let's just say Nozzle or Nozel, whichever you prefer. They're probably going to be next on the line. Obviously, Asta and Yuno, they're not going to be up for grabs at, 15, 16 now. So, theirs is still further down the line. But the question is, who's going to be on the throne? I feel like, well, rather, there's no real throne for Wizard King. It's kind of just like a chair. They're not actual royalty. It's more like a military position. But anyway, with the first Wizard King, to being around now, and then you have the 28th Wizard King with Julius, there's the idea that one of them is going to only win, and the other is just gonna, pretty much sit on the sidelines and be a backup in case maybe one of them dies. So the question is, which one is it going to be? I feel like the obvious answer is going to be Asta, which I still think that he's going to actually end up becoming Wizard King. But the question is, where does that leave Yuno? I still believe that there's a chance for Yuno, and what I mean by that is not for Wizard King, because let me kind of lay this out for you real quick. So there's the whole backstory with the elves. There's everything going on with them, but we know about Lumiere, the first Wizard King, wasn't just the Wizard King, he was also of royalty. He was a prince, and he had a sister, Tedia, who's obviously, by that, a princess. And she was going to get married to Licht, the leader of the elves, until, the whole massacre happened, and, the reincarnation, everything, so on and so forth. So there's the whole idea that obviously Yuno is related to the elves, and it's not just the fact that he's got elf boost right now. He's just got a boost of elf power that he adds from the reincarnation magic. I know there's a lot of people in the theory that Asta is somehow special, like of a royal bloodline or some special bloodline. I don't want that to happen. I think it would hurt the entire layout of the story if he somehow was somehow it was of some special bloodline. I don't like that idea. But with Yuno, I think it's extremely possible and extremely, fitting to this character. So think about this. There's the whole idea that Yuno is what a lot of people think that, the soul of Licht and Tedia's child is within Yuno. I don't think that's entirely the case. I think that Yuno is said child, because keep in mind that when the elves reincarnated, they knew as much and were as intelligent and had the memories of when they were alive. They're literally just pretty much taking where they were upon death, putting them in a new body. With Licht and Tedia's child, their baby wasn't even born. So this is an unborn soul going into a new body. So here's the idea that when that soul was reincarnated into a new body, maybe it was maybe like the idea because was very weak as a kid, very, very kind of like wimpy and frail. Maybe it was like a stillborn, something kind of like more like a sad story, like right there. You're going to have maybe something a little depressing about it. But the idea that the Yuno that we know has always been the elf. Like, imagine this, because then it's just like, well, why doesn't this character, why didn't he harbor any of the anger towards the humans? Well, he never knew about them. He was unborn when it all happened. So instead, he grew up as, an elf in mind and soul amongst humans, which would also explain his affinity for magic, how skilled he is in the such. And we already know the fact that Tedia used wind magic, and now we have Yuno, who's also in wind magic. He's got a 4-leaf grimoire. He's clearly connected to the elves, and just the idea of all that, where does that leave Yuno? So the idea is, if Tedia and Licht are his actual parents, and keep this in mind, if Tedia's actual mother, she as royalty would make Yuno a descendant of royalty. So something happens to Kira Augustus Clover, the king of the Clover Kingdom. Maybe he dies. Eventually, you have Asta rise up to be Wizard King, and you have Yuno, who's of royal descendant, rise up to be the actual king. So you can have them both sitting on the throne, both kind of like working in tandem. And instead of kind of like that position of the Wizard King being pretty much everything to the people, and the actual king just being kind of like a nobody that the people don't really care about. You'll have these characters that pretty much rose up to these spots. Yuno, I think, would be a combination of kind of like earning it, but at the same time, it being placed upon him. I think, again, that would be fitting for Yuno, just because of the way he's been throughout the story. He's gotten a lot of things, but at the same time, he hasn't fully... It wasn't just like everything was handed to him. He's also worked at the same time. He's much more of like he's much more somebody who's like a genius at adapting and learning in situations and trying to kind of like, picking up things very fast, evolving them and going. Whereas Asta's like a genius of hard work and determination. They're both kind of like their own specialties in these areas. But the idea of both of them sitting on the throne, I think, would also do really well with something like, obviously, when you have a lot of these newer generations of series, they're going to take inspiration from older ones. And I don't know. There's no evidence to say like that that Tabata took this from Naruto. I'm just going to use this as an example. You had Sasuke randomly at the end being like, "I'm going to become Hokage too," or it's like, well, then how are Naruto and Sasuke both going to become Hokage? Well, there's actually two Hokages. There's like a desk one, then there's like an actual cool one that goes around doing stuff. I mean, that's kind of like the situation, except it makes much more sense. It's like laid out, and it's not going to be just kind of dropped on everyone's heads, and it's going to actually like be interesting to see. And then you could also have the fact with that is you have Asta, who'd be Wizard King, right? And anytime they have something that he has to go out and deal with, you have one big key character that can venture out, go out, and find things. Go out maybe to like fight a battle. Because I remember we saw in the first chapter, the Wizard King was coming back from some form of confrontation. A bunch of the captains, and then the idea with that is, well, the Clover Kingdom, the capital, was left unguarded, so you could have Asta as the Wizard King go out and do stuff, if needed to be and called upon. And then you have Yuno, who's the actual king, who's also still really powerful, guarding the kingdom. You'd be able to have both an exploration and home front kind of like levels of power with these two big characters when we eventually get down that line. So tell me in the comments what you think about that. I think it would make sense. I feel like it would really fit kind of like the idea of Yuno, where, he's again very much kind of like, he's got that kind of like destined for things layup for his character that you see a lot of. It's like, oh, you have all these things that you're meant to get. Whereas Asta, I'm hoping it doesn't go that way with him, because I like the fact that he's just some nobody who works really hard. He keeps trying and trying and trying and keeps adapting and figuring out ways to keep up and just doesn't let adversity keep him down. And I like that layup for his character, because he's definitely in a way at an advantage because of anti-magic, but he's at a disadvantage because of all the skills that he doesn't have that are basic levels of being a wizard within the world. Like, he can't fly, he doesn't have magic sensing, he doesn't have mana skin, he doesn't really have anything for ranged attacks, he doesn't have anything for like, he's literally just, he's got these cool swords, and he's got a power-up that he has to charge for that, he's still susceptible to hack spells and all these different kind of things. But again, tell me in the comments what you think about all this. I'd really appreciate, though, hearing what you have to say, and I really appreciate you thumbs up the video, but press the like button and the subscribe button, and check out my other videos. Around that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and I thank y'all for listening. Bye.